G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by the Astropub, who's fashionably attired for today.
Every Drake day, I gotta rep the colors, all right?
Yeah.
Just because it is my favorite manufacturer, so I make no excuses.
I did say before the show you're missing the trucker hat attire though, but other than
I do miss the trucker hat.
Yeah.
I need the trucker hat.
Yeah.
CIG, please send me one.
Yeah, me too. I want one too. I tried to buy one, but I couldn't get one. Well, look, I could wear it, you know, when I'm on the show, but free advertising for you. Anyway, all right, let's kick it off to the browser, and we're on to Drake Day. Straight off the bat, Paul, tell me about the Buccaneer. I
love the Buccaneer. It's my favorite light fighter, but it is an absolute garbage heap. It is
Agreed.
not worth the money you're paying for it.
Yeah.
I love it. It is only skilled pilots fly them, so only the best of the best of the best fly them. But as I've been kind of learning a little bit more about PvP, sadly the ship's just not very good.
Yeah,
it's great. You're gonna see a lot of them in Squad 42 because they're going to be the main enemy fighters. But you know, it
feels awesome. It really does. It's got something cool about it when you're inside it. This real manual feel to it. And I think my biggest disappointment, though, not about how it fires or anything, is remember the original concept where the gun on top was underneath, like the that thing in StarCraft, the kind, I think it was called the Wraith in StarCraft. And I brought one, and then they changed it, and I got rid of it. I was like, stuff this, you know. And it would have been really cool to have that underslung gun, and I wish they'd found a way to do it. Unfortunately, they said they had to move it because of where the landing gear was placed, and I was like, well, then move the bloody landing gear. But I digress. But yeah, again, like most fighters, and you'll see that again today and throughout what we've been saying through this IE coverage, is most fighters are just not worth the purchase. They're just overpriced. But man, does it feel good to fly.
Similar to ground vehicles. If you want to buy it, you're supporting this. They're supporting the development. That's what you're really doing. Don't buy it if you're looking for an advance in quality, or because like especially like the Buccaneer is like $1 million UEC in game. It's super cheap to buy.
And the reasoning behind most of that is we know that the bigger the ship, the more it's going to multiply in value, because again they're built for multiple players. So the more players, the more valuable it's going to kind of go up. So what Chris said to me when I interviewed him in 2014 is something like an Aurora will stay the same, a Constellation will be maybe 5 times as much, and an Idris about 10 times as much. And from that you can extrapolate out what you will from that. Right, Caterpillar. I love this thing. It's
great.
It's the Galaxy 1.0, you know. And I think we kind of wait and see how those modules work, and it's got a lot going for it too. Like I know you and I have gone like in the past. I remember we argued about the Hercules, right? And one thing I realized recently, I brought up with Argrid, is you know how you talk about the tractor beams. This thing's essentially got equivalency of a 315p attached to it with a tractor beam. So when you're loading it, that command module can fly around and help actually load stuff into the ship, which is,
if it needs to,
there's nothing else.
That's one of the things.
There's no other ship with that.
I do think that it does need, the ship does need, like the tractor beam on the right side, the one that has the big wing, that needs to be able to like telescope and move around. But I don't think the one on the command cab has to, because it can disconnect. So if you really wanted to, you could disconnect and then load it on individually, you know, if you needed to, like just like you said, like a 315p.
Yeah, they are working on placement on those tractor beams. They did say that on a few of them. Even the Cutlass Black needs a better placement at the moment as well. But
I will say though, there is one thing that I would pause for people to purchase it. $300 is a lot of money, because you can also have to purchase the modules. It is likely that when they do modules, because they haven't sold the modules yet, instead of it being just individual replacement of individual modules, it could be that the entire range is replaced. So you have themes to the modules rather than you know, having a cargo bay and a living bay and a dropship bay or in a repair bay. You have the repair version, you have the living version, you have the dropship version, or the
it's definitely
we have heard
it's definitely the thing that's up in the air at the moment the most, because like essentially if you have every combo of module, they've actually got to build out all those things, and it's essentially a ship swap in the background. So it's a lot of work for them to do that, and I think that's why this has been left for so long, because they know it's a troublesome thing, and they probably don't want to tread on people's toes and say, well, you're not getting those individual modules anymore. I fully expect it's going to be a complete swap, because then it just becomes like 4 different versions like the Galaxy.
I believe that we might see actually like individual modules, but like individual modules might be different. So like we might have like a recreation module, which is 2 modules that you can put on there and then replace the rest of them with cargo if you need to. But I also don't think this is going to be the first one. I think this is because they haven't sold any modules for it already. It's likely going to be a while. So if you're purchasing this with the idea that you want to use modularity, know that you're purchasing this for when it comes out. But I can almost guarantee you that when this thing gets modularity, it's going to go up almost twice in its price. This is easily a $600 ship that's just being sold for $330. I think so. It's going to match, if it's got modularity, it's going to
the Galaxy's 370.
Galaxy's similar.
Yeah, but this is the
Drake. Galaxy 375.
Yeah, yep. It's
that's true. Okay,
so it's
I thought the Galaxy was like 400.
Yeah, because it's RSI versus Drake, so you're assuming Drake's a little bit cheaper. But I definitely think it's got room to go up in price, like you know, $20-$30. But yeah, I
thought that the Galaxy was like $450-$500. So it's just like it's you know, because the Galaxy, but it's wrong. So I still think it's going to go up in price a little bit. So
and if you've got time to research this ship, just look into what that command module can do, because essentially it has life support for 4 people and living quarters for 4 people. That's essentially a constellation without the cargo bay on its own. And the ship itself can support another 4 people with beds and food and stuff as well. It's nuts. So you can essentially have like almost like an away Connie that goes down to the planet and does what it needs to do while the other 4 people stay there and just do whatever they want to do. You could even be, just say, for example, one of the modules there, you know, it's speculation at this point, but say it's got a salvage module. They could be doing the salvage, and you could literally fly the command module back to get resupplies. You know, like just crazy little things like that. It's essentially
a mobile station.
Yeah, it's its own little shuttle. It's like a mini Kraken. I do think this is what they intended for the Kraken to be, and the Kraken just kind of grew out of this and became a lot bigger. And that it was originally like the base ship, like meant to be the one, but it's too small for that now compared to like the way the game's grown. So it's still very good for its price, and it's one of my favorite kind of large daily drivers, but it is a bit large and slow, and there are some problems with it in that regard, but we'll have to wait and see. Still one of my favorites. It's
still great. If you like the aesthetic and you like a lot of cargo, it holds 570 SEU of cargo or something like that. So it's a huge amount of cargo.
It's less than the C2 but more than the M2, as in the Hercules. Yeah. So that kind of shows where it sits. It's very much directly competing with that Hercules series. Yeah. Right, Paul, the Corsair. The love-hate relationship. Really? All right, please tell me, because I had this and I melted it. And I'll tell you why now. You tell me first.
The reason why I like the Corsair is because it has all the things that make a Drake ship good. It's versatile. It has decent range. It's got decent speed for its size. And a uniqueness. It has its own kind of like crew cabins, which is really nice. And its cargo bay can hold like large vehicles, so semi-large vehicles. Plus, it has that like nice like roof access, so you could go all the way to the roof if you wanted to, or all the way down. There's lots of little things here and there. It's, of course, not everyone's cup of tea, but I do think that it's going to be one of the more popular ships in places like Pyro because of how, in comparative to other vehicles of its size, how much it punches and how much it hauls. And in terms of complexity, it's not as complex as the Connie. So,
what do you think the roof access is for? Because I'm pretty sure I figured out what it was for, but I don't know.
I think it's for rescue, for observation, and for like just for any kind of reason where there might even be replacements. Because I think isn't there a gun up on those sides, so you can use that roof access to access those guns and replace them and stuff like that too. So.
I think the major function is to jump off the ship that you've just boarded and back onto the roof to get back into this ship in atmosphere.
That could work too.
Because you can just fly underneath. They jump out the door, land on the roof, and go down the elevator. So, and again, this ship with the asymmetry in the wings, you can tell one of its advantages over the other explorers is in atmosphere. Having wings that big is clearly an in-atmosphere advantage.
I don't think it's going to be as atmospheric as other things, but it's got this huge wingspan for that reason. So
yeah, it's a negative in combat, like in space and stuff. So the reason I got rid of it though is I have a Constellation and I have a Redeemer. and this thing lands right in the middle, so I don't need it.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I still really like it. It's just that I don't need it. When I've already got a Connie, and it was like, which one do I get rid of? It was this, the one that had to go.
This is one of those things that makes it it's probably on the edge of a daily driver. It's okay for a daily driver, but it's better with multiple people. And its size is a little big, but it's the same. I think it's about the same size as a Valkyrie. I'd have to look that up exactly the dimensions.
It's pretty much the same as a Connie and MSR and the other kind of large daily drivers. They are very all comparable. So it sits on a large. You know how you got those large ships that sit on a large pad, but then you've got the almost like subcapital ones, like the really big ones. It's the smaller large ones essentially. So
yeah,
S4.
I'm looking at it. It's 50 meters long, and then I'm going to check the Valkyrie. Where are you there? And the Valkyrie is 48 meters long. So yeah, it's about the same length as a Valkyrie. So it can land in most places where the Valkyrie is. In my experience, very few places are big enough outside of like the settlements are big enough to land anything bigger than a Valkyrie. So it's that perfect size for landing in most places. If you want to go exploring or if you want to go off the beaten path, you can find a place that's flat enough for a Corsair.
It's actually a good.
That's another example.
It's a good generalist though too, because it's got the same cargo as an MSR and a Connie. You can put an Ursa Rover in the back. You know, stuff like that. I actually think it is a really good ship. The loadout is vastly improved compared to the MSR and the Connie as well. And at that price, just to put this in perspective for some people, when we talk about ships of value, $250 is the same price as an Ares. This is why
it has more value than an Ares.
Yeah, this is why we say don't buy fighters, right? This is exactly because this thing would take on an Ares, right? Because of all the guns it's got. It's essentially got the same guns, or very similar guns to a Redeemer loadout, right? So this can actually punch a lot higher than you expect. Again, like most Drake, it's overgunned but kind of under armored. So yeah.
Yeah, it's if you're looking for something that's consolidating in terms of like if you want something that's better than that's slightly better than a Connie, but maybe not as much firepower as a Redeemer. This is a perfect middle ground, like a lot of Drake ships are, and it'll get it done. It's the reason why the Cutlass is so popular, because it just works, and that's the same thing with the Corsair. The Corsair is going to be one of those ships that in Pyro just works.
That should be their tagline, not
their tagline,
not the power of the people. It just works.
Yeah.
I think the other little thing I've got to add is today with the best in show skin, it's getting that really cool,
purple skin,
Gattack purple teal skin. You know, so you're going to see a lot of those in the next couple of days flying around. And if you can't afford the Corsair right now, just get a CCU to it, and you can apply that at a later date, and you will get the skin.
Yeah, and there's plenty of great CCUs that have been for deep discounts. Like you could get the discount for what was it? Like yesterday was a pretty good jump for 400i, because 400i is similarly priced, so but worse.
And I've just realized something I didn't do is I didn't actually check what the CCU was today. It's the Vulture.
It's the Vulture.
Okay.
That's unique. Because that's a best in show.
Yep. So that there hasn't been another best in show one. So let's have a quick look at this. We'll do it on the fly. You can see how quickly I do.
But you usually don't do it in best in show. So.
No, they don't. That's the first one they've done. So at 150, that's a $20 saving. 25. You spend $5 and get $20 off. That is a good CCU. That takes it back to $10 above concept, by the way. So the original concept price was 140. That is some good savings. That's one of the best ones. It's not the best because obviously those of us that have been around since the beginning. But yeah, you got a Ballista to Vulture is what I'd probably recommend there at $10. That's a good one, especially in the $100 price range. You don't normally see that much savings. So especially if you're new to the game at the moment, that's a real good one. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. Whoa, the oldie bit of goodie. Ollie, do you want to take this one first?
Best. Yeah, it is the venerable, it is the classic, it is the thing everyone likes. I do think that 110 is a little expensive for it, because you used to be able to get it for like $100 or a little bit less. It's about $10 more than it is, and it is one of those ships that I think is better to earn in game than it is to purchase. But if you're getting like I think you can get a starter pack with it for 120. I have to double check it. It used
to be able, and sometimes it comes up and sometimes it goes off. They move them around every once in a while, but yeah, they do seem to be moving those medium ships up a bit. I think they're trying to make more room for things below it, but that was always a thing. Like the longer the game goes on, the more expensive everything was going to get. So I expect everything in the course of time to go up. Like those starter packs that we get at the moment for $45, I reckon they'll eventually.
Oh, they're definitely going to be 60.
The full price game. You know, they'll be $60, $70, whatever that's going to be, you know, and it'll be the same with these. They'll all go up to kind of to match to that. So, yeah, we are going to do
there is a Cutlass starter package for $125.
Well, there you go.
So
that's a good one if if you're looking at a good all-rounder, and it allows you to upgrade off this into, you know, the C1, the Freelancer, the Zeus. We are going to be doing a buyer's guide for the C1 later today, me and Paul, and this is probably the biggest competitor to that. So we'll talk about that a lot then. But yeah, this thing's still got its place. So don't worry. Think it's been killed. It hasn't been. Right. We'll do the blue and red together, man. Is there anything you kind of want to go over those ones? Because I think honestly they the Cuddy Red, right? Let me talk about the Cuddy Red, because that's the one that I think that is worth it, right? So the Cuddy Red has its place because the Apollo is so much more expensive, right? So this is an ambulance as such, right? And a lot of people go, why would you get this above the Pisces, and why would you get it instead of the Apollo? All right. Well, the Pisces, for one, you don't have any other beds in it that are non-medical, so you can't log out. It's only made for 2 people. Right, so you've only got 1 person taking care of your medical care. This literally has 4 beds in addition to the 2 medical beds, so that's 6 beds, right? 4 of them to log out on, 1 for the doctor, 1 for the nurse, or 2 doctors, whichever way you want to look at it. So you've got 2 people looking after your medical care, and it's faster than an Apollo. So this is it is called the Rescue. It literally says down the side of it, like Rescue. This thing zooms in and gets you back to something like an Apollo. So it's designed for that emergency response. So this thing really does have its place, and it's obviously physically a lot smaller than the Apollo, right? They're both medium, but it's significantly smaller that it can, and it's got the scanners and that on it, and certain things that the Apollo doesn't have. Now, yes, the Apollo has the drone, but it doesn't have the scanners to match this thing. As far as from last time I checked, I can go back and check again, but I still think this has got its place. Even
if they did, they'd probably have comparable scanners, and the Cutlass Red is so much cheaper. So the thing that you gotta understand about the Cutlass Red is that right now there isn't a lot of gameplay associated to it, because a lot of people go, well, if I'm going to do an ambulance, I'm going to do the C8R. Or if I want to do it, but I really want respawn. I want to be able to respawn. So what do? They go get the biggest ships for respawn, which will be the Apollo. So because they think that the only thing that matters for medical is respawn, that nothing else will matter. But it's like the Cutlass Red can fix pretty much everything except for your daily bruises and bumps, and that's going to matter more when you get when it takes you longer. You have to when respawn takes it makes a penalty or it costs you money. You don't want to have to play for the respawn. I know a lot of people are hung up on the whole like we are. We're kind of in a buggy alpha stage, so every time you die, there's a lot of things, but like this ship is designed one of those things where you will eventually be able to rescue NPCs for money with this sort of thing, and this is going to be that sort of professional starter, as it were, for that sort of profession, and will always be a valuable ship in a fleet if you have one. I may be a little biased because I only own 1 Cutlass, and it's the red. So but that's the reason why I got it.
And if it can't heal that wound, it can extend your life expectancies to get you to a place. And again, it's built for speed to get to a place like that. And the other thing I do want to point out is the Apollo is more than twice the price of this thing.
Yes.
So
it's so much more expensive. And in game, it's a Drake ship, so it's always going to be cheap compared to the RSI. I think the blue does have its place. The problem I have with the blue is that it's a little pricey for what it does.
I think it's probably like 155 at best, 150, because of where now the Zeus come in for $15 more.
The Zeus is the one.
The Marky Mark just treads all over this in my book, and I know there's a few other content creators that say they think this is better because all the guns are on the pilot. Anyone that has multi-crew will tell you as soon as you get into a hurricane just how efficient it is to have someone on a turret. right? So again, I will take the 2 turrets on the Marky Mark over the 1 on this, and the extra guns on the pilot any day over this. Yes, you need the people, but there are advantages to having the people, and also
and it's on the cruise ship.
Yeah.
Why would you buy a blue when you could get like a Hawk?
Yep.
Like it's like this,
exactly.
Like if you want a single person ship, buy a Hawk. It's better for the 1 person options. So a Stalker. Like the better.
Yep.
So
and they've both got quantum dampeners as well. So again, if you're locking someone down for that fight, you want those extra guns. So yeah, it's got its place, but it's like you said, Paul. It's just a little steep. Right. Now, there is only one word to describe this. Actually, there's 2 words. Steel, but it's with an A, and the other one is junk. You know, Paul, I'll let you talk to it.
Don't buy it.
Yeah, don't buy it. This thing is so overpriced, it's disgusting. It's actually cheaper than the Cutlass.
It is a scam.
Cheaper than the Cutlass Black in game, and yet you can get 2 Cutlass Blacks and a Dragonfly for the same price. If you buy this, I disown you. You hear me? You do not buy this. You get disowned.
I mean, I understand why people would buy it because they like the aesthetic and they just want to keep it between wipes. But in reality, it's slower than the Cutlass. It has less protection than the Cutlass. Even though it has more people, half the guns are useless because the like side guns are currently bugged, so you just fall out the second there's a bump. Like, and they're not very effective at shooting where they are. It's all rule of cool. It's entirely, but because of that, I absolutely adore it because it is the ultimate expression of Drake. It is like if you took the lore of Drake and you put it into a ship, and that's why I'm like, I love this because it's going to be good for certain people at certain times, and it's gonna be great for gameplay in terms of like NPCs using this to deliver, because it can deliver 20 freaking like it's like reinforcements in 1 drop.
Yeah, something like 22 people in the back. It's like, and at the time when it came out, it was like half the server. It just made no sense.
Half the server.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you replace that with NPCs, that's a scary prospect. If they land, if one of those things lands and drops 22 NPCs that are functional at a functional server, so you can see where CIG was going with this. On top of it, it's a Huey, but it's garbage. It's a flying piece of junk, but it's a Drake piece of junk.
As content creators, every once in a while they give us these to try out and fly, and I have tried it out because of that. But like there's just no way it's worth the price. Like and also I've heard back from people at CIG, as I'm sure you have, is like they know how much they stuffed up on this. This is like their big mistake. This is the thing that we hold them to the flame over, because it was terrible
because of the price.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Like, I was expecting it to be expensive.
What did
I was expecting it to be.
We said
still expecting it to be between a red and a blue.
That's exactly
150.
Yeah, that's what we said. I remember. Yeah, it was like literally 150, and
it still wouldn't be worth the price, but it would still be a decent like it's like I can understand it, like, you know, not $240.
And to put that in, remember, just back here we were literally looking at a Corsair, and it's 250, and at the time when that came out, the Corsair was 215.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know what mushrooms they were licking, but I don't want them.
The dropship tax, apparently. That's just the weirdest thing.
It's crazy. All right, the Cutter, most popular ship ever in the game, as they told us at CitizenCon, and you can see why. This thing has come in really hot, and it's basically like almost totally taken over the Avenger for me. It literally has everything the Avenger does, and I think it's even got some the toilet as well. Avenger does not have a toilet, so the only thing it doesn't have is it's got half the cargo of an Avenger, and obviously lot less guns. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got half the cargo, but it has an interior space that you can actually put a vehicle into, which makes it a lot more effective. I think you could put a rock in one of these things.
No, I tried, and I even tried in the new Scout where it got bigger. No, you can't do it. It's a mule.
Because you can put the Steve. You can put the Steve in the old one.
Probably. So, I haven't tested. I have tested the mule.
But I mean, it's one of those things where you could fit a cargo, or you could fit vehicles in the back of it. Whereas there's no way in hell you're putting anything in the back of an Avenger. I mean, at best maybe a Ranger, but you know, condensed. So it's better. It's aesthetically much better. It's got better fuel range than the Avenger is. Even though originally it was bugged, and they fixed that. It's still going to always have better fuel range for the Avenger. It is, and it just looks cool. It's a Winnebago, it's a Winnebago kind of thing. So
one of the reasons we actually thought it had the extra fuel is because of the Expedition. Remember that whole, and again, I'm almost wondering now if John Crew's trolling me on this, but like I had this theory running for a long time. The Expedition is for the Reclaimer snub. If this thing has extra, like, so it's got like a really big fuel port at the front. I think that's for extracting the fuel out of ships and stuff. That's why I thought it worked with the Reclaimer and stuff. And that's why it would also have a bigger fuel tank, because it's designed to take fuel out of the ships. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm waiting on the Expedition. I'm hoping John Curry just trolled me and lied to my face. I'd rather that than be wrong, because I really thought that's what that was, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, great starter, one of the best out there. And this time last year, you could actually get it for $45 in a pack, which was brilliant. And if they do offer it again with a pack, I think it's usually about 65, isn't it, or 60? Paul, the cutter pack?
Yeah. I think it's $65 in the pack. Let me double check, because I actually have the pack up here. The cutter pack is $60.
There you go. That's a good deal. $15 is usually how much they charge for a pack, so yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's $15 cheaper than the Titan. Yep. So like, for all those reasons, it's better than the Titan. It's better than the Pisces because it's got a bigger cargo hold. It's just like, it's the best option. So.
Let's smack the Cutter Scout in there too. Do you think there's a real draw card for this, like giving up the cargo for scanning? I think just scanning's not there yet, so we can't really answer this.
No. Yeah, it's because it's such a like a I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's just because it's such a mystery. This feels like the beta, where like they had a decent idea with the beta and then they ruined it. I feel like this is the same way. Like they don't know what scanning is yet fully, so they're built this ship based off of an idea of what they have, and it could entirely change because this is CIG. They have changed their mind more times than they have made it up, so you're rolling the dice if you're getting the Scout because you don't no idea what CIG is going to do in 2 years. So
it is on the roadmap, so they know. I think they plan to have them come out at the same time, but obviously scanning's got delayed somewhere along the way, but the ship didn't. Again. Yeah, I think scanning and exploration, like it is a form of exploration, believe it or not. It's just how is it going to be for you? Well, you won't know until the gameplay comes along, so I have to wait to see. But yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. It's definitely a more interesting starter, put it that way. We don't have any scanning starters, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Right. The Dragonfly. Is there any other
still holds a place, I think.
Yep. Dragonfly.
Yeah.
It's a vehicle.
It still holds a place in vehicles. It's 2-seater. There's very few 2-seaters out there. Almost all of the hover quads or hover bikes are single-seater. This is a 2-seater, and eventually the second seat will be able to shoot. So
yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually
some advantage of it.
I think as the hover bikes go, or the bikes go, it is the best bike. So it's essentially the four-wheel drive, where things like the Nox and that are built for streets. As you said, it's got 2 seats, or it can take cargo, and it's got guns. Most other bikes have one of those, not all of those. So it's the most versatile of all the hover bikes. And if I was going to buy one, this would be it. And by the way, it was also the first. It's ironic. It's a little bit like the Ursa. The Ursa was the first vehicle that kind of came in, and that's, it's still almost impossible to beat that thing. It just does everything. It shoots, it carries more people, it carries cargo. The only thing it doesn't have going for it is it's that medium size, where this is obviously smaller. But again, versatility. It's
still a little bigger. It's still bigger than most of the other bikes. I think the Nox is about the same size, but
the
quad is smaller. It does. The like buoy arms don't really though. Is the problem when you turn it off. Yeah. So like if they gave the ability for it to transform a little bit, it would be a little bit better. But right now it's fine as it is. It's just a little.
It is meant to. It is meant to do that, but the animations are not in. So it's actually meant to tuck in and go back. So like it's got a compact mode. If you go back to the concept, you can see it, but they just don't have it in at the moment. So yeah. All right, the Herald, man. Like there was this thing with the Drake ships back in the day where they really had asymmetry, and the Corsair was the first one to come in a long time that had that, and it was one of the reasons why I was really drawn to it. This had the most coolest asymmetry of almost any ship. It had like this huge radar dish thing came out one side, and it looked amazing. And then they made it all symmetrical, and I got rid of it. But now it's having a renaissance as the drag racer. Fastest ship in the game, A to B, in straight line.
I remember someone told me that's not the case anymore.
Oh, really?
There are other ships that are faster. Yeah, but it's still one of the fastest ships out there. It suffers from the fact that it is specifically for a gameplay loop that doesn't exist.
Yep.
It was the first Inforunner. It was built to be the Inforunner. And we all have to own one as Inforunners. It's by a contract from CIG.
It's still there. Look, it sits there spinning every episode.
Still there. It's there.
Yeah.
And when Inforunner comes out, it'll probably be a very good starter Inforunner ship because it's nice and compact. And I still love the aesthetic because it's still just like Drake. It's like, oh, we took the cockpit of a Cutlass and stuck it on one of the engines and just said go.
2 people as well. It's one of those smaller. You know, I think the Reliance, the only smaller, essentially. Well, I guess you got the Pisces now too, but yeah, like 2 different roles. So
and the only ship that's the same class as for an Inforunner, I think, is the MSR.
Yep,
is the only other ship. And I know, and I'm sure people will argue with me in the comments being like, well, there are technically this ship and this ship. No, but I mean like dedicated. There are 2 Inforunner ships dedicated. It's the Herald and the MSR, and the MSR is like 4 times the size of this thing. It's huge.
I actually can correct you. The Saber Raven.
Technically, but it's not really an Inforunner ship. And you can't get the Saber Raven.
No, you can't get the Saber Raven, but technically I'm correct. And that's the best type of correct. Anyway, right. Right, the Kraken. My baby. It's already sold out if you want it. And I can hear all the people that are watching us do this recording going, I got one, I missed out. I got one, I missed out. So yeah, some people were unlucky in the F5 war this morning. But yeah, I got one a couple of years ago. Actually, I think it was just last year. But yeah, I really love this thing. And yeah, if you want a capital ship, it's my one of choice. Might not be yours, but for me, it's the support combat role, where the Idris is more straight combat. This kind of won't really be going into combat, but it'll fly up to the edge and send all its little baby ships off to fight the battle for it. So, but it can probably still hold a fight as well with all the turrets and stuff on it. So, yeah, I don't know, Paul.
Probably against smaller ships. It's not. You're not tangling with an Idris, one of these things, and Idris will blow it to pieces. But I do think
I'm curious. I'm curious to see that, because I think the fight between this and an Idris comes down to the ship on the deck of this.
I do agree, but I also think that if this thing got too close to an Idris, before that Idris went down, it would blow this thing to pieces. Yeah, that rail gun.
Yep.
So, but it's designed. It's mother base from Gundam, like or white base from Gundam. It's this perfect, like, it's a org base. You can float around. You can hold an entire organization in it. It can do anything you want it to do, because it can be a mining platform, it can be a salvage platform, it can be a trade platform, it can be a bounty hunting platform, it can be a combat ship, you can just do anything you want it to, because it's mining. It's just a flat top with interner, whatever cargo. Whatever
ships you put it on, it can support. So whether they're prospectors, vultures, whatever, you can go out and do that mining expedition with those.
Yeah.
Smaller ships. Like we said before, it kind of grew off the Caterpillar. It's the bigger brother of the Caterpillar, or the bigger sister, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
All right. The other one we got to check in here is the Privateer. This is a more economic one. This essentially gives up some of its cargo to give the cargo to some shops. You get 10 shops in it, and you also give up the Dragonfly Bay that is in the normal Kraken. And essentially, this turns into like a flying space station mall that people and NPCs can fly up to from underneath the planet, where the kind of opposite of that with the Banner Merchantman is it goes down to there and deploys its shop on the surface, where this is people having to come up to you. But by the same token, you could set this up as a space station and have whole series of ships drop cargo off to you, so you could deliver them. You could have whole A's and B's on top of this thing delivering cargo down to the planet. So if you really needed to bring a massive amount of cargo into a private planet or moon, this is how you would do it. Paul, anything to add to that, or have I kind of covered that one?
It's a flying space station.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's a space station. It's when it originally came out, people talked about how it's basically one of the wings of, or one of the docking areas of Olisar. It's just what it is. It's built just like that at concept.
Yep.
So if you need a space station to orbit your new base, you buy a privateer, because the privateer will work as a load and offload point. So you can reload ships, refuel ships. You can hold cargo in there. You even have shops in there, so you can buy and sell things if you need to. So.
Last part I'll add is you can actually switch between the two, but more than likely you'll have to rep grind in game to get the privateer stuff. I guess if you have the privateer, you won't have to rep grind to get that, but you still have to take it to a capital shipyard, so a Drake capital shipyard, and get it. Actually, it was Cousin Crow's, wasn't it? You have to take it to Cousin Crow's and get it taken off, or in the case if you've got the normal Kraken, you'll have to earn that and then get it put on. So yeah, you can go between the two. And that's another, in my book, a bonus kind of over the the Idris, because the Idris is essentially just, well, actually it does get remote turrets and stuff, but you get my point, right? It's all combat, where this can literally change its role.
It's more multiversal. We're still waiting on, I think when CIG finally catches up with a lot of the ships, which I know it could be between a year or 2 years from now and the heat death of the universe, that could take a long time. But I do think that CIG has an idea for this range of size of the Idris, the Kraken, because they're about the same size.
They are.
That sort of range to have multiple, like at least one version for each one. The Orion is like likely the mining version of this, like Kraken Idris size ship.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? Why would you build a whole ship, like massive capital ship, and just not at least have one variant to extend the gameplay? Because otherwise it's a lot of work for one thing. Like if you're going to make variants of capital ships. And I, again, like the Javelin with all those modular rooms, it's got that. So if it's not a variant, I'd expect it to have modular rooms, because it just makes so much sense to extend that gameplay. You get so much more gameplay for all the things they've got to build, and it's a lot of work to build these massive ships, which is why they're taking their goddamn sweet time. Right, the mule. I love to race this thing. I know it sounds really weird to say that, but I really, it's just so much fun to hoon around and skid. But they're
fast. Yeah, they're really fast.
But it is an earning game. Like, it's so cheap, it's not funny. It's like getting a rock or whatever. And as we said before, it fits in the back of a cutter. But yeah, it's going to be a cargo loader. That's what you're going to use it for. You're gonna use it for your, probably putting stuff in your Cutlass Black or whatever ships you use it for. And I think in some cases, even the tractor beam is going to be quicker. Like, I don't quite understand why it carries such small boxes, to be honest with you. Unless you're going over some form of distance,
Yeah. I think that the main reason for it is because eventually tractor beams will cause power drain. So like your rifle beam will eventually have power packs and all sorts of things, whereas this will probably have a much larger power supply and battery backup. So the reason why is because like this is more efficient over long periods of time versus versus having to like recharge or buy a bunch of these power packs to kind of keep it going.
So based on what you just said,
it's great for a base, but rather than a like a base loader and unloader rather than being a that kind of stuff. So
also based on what you just said there, it'd also be better with precious cargo, because there's far less chance that you're going to drop it. So like nuclear waste,
and it's got an enclosed cabin, right? So you can you don't have to wear a spacesuit.
Yep.
So it's like that's also going to have resources where you're going to have oxygen and that kind of stuff. So it's better. But it's very, very much like a bigger scale. So it's like if you're tired of having to like constantly refill your oxygen suits and repair your suits and all these sorts of things, getting all these little micro charges that are going to happen because of you operating with those with the tractor beams. This is going to be like, well, if you're moving that much cargo, just buy one of these, and it'll do most of it for you. So
shows you everything's got its place, doesn't it? All right, the Vulture, salvage starter. I'm in the reclaimer camp. As me and Argot have told you a few times, 2.5 of these is a reclaimer, but yet the reclaimer just does so much more. But if you really want that on your own, this is the way to go. It's also best in show, so there'll be a purple skin for this today as well. So again, you can pick up that, was it $10 for the CCU and lock in that purple skin.
Yeah.
You can also go through, so you can go to the Vulture, get the skin, and then just keep going to something else, But for me, again, if you're looking for that value, the bigger ships are better in my eye and earn down. And I think a lot of the profession starters are just really expensive for what they are. But that's my 2 cents. What's yours, Paul?
The biggest problem is this lie right. See if I can do this right. Nope, that way.
Where it says single person salvage platform?
It says where it says single person salvage platform. This is a 2-person ship.
Yeah. Essentially,
yeah,
it's only got one bed.
They don't tell you,
but it's so manual, right? And what Paul's describing is what sucks, because you've got it. This is the feature that's not in here. You know, when you blast things apart, you've actually got to step out of this. If you have a look when you get a chance, Paul, you step out, you go out the door that leads you to outside in your suit. There's actually a button that you're meant to press for a charge to come down, and you get that charge like a dynamite, and you attach it, and you actually blast them apart. Now you think about blasting them apart and where they're going to fly in space. So then you've got to recollect them. Then you've got to start stripping, like munching them down. Now on the Reclaimer, you just start laser cutting it up. You don't need charges. And then you also
have the claw. If you need the bigger one, and you can just dunk it into your big thing. So, and on top of that, like once you start salvaging, once it starts collecting the salvage, the salvage goo, you have to every couple minutes stop, get out of your seat, go down, move the box out of the collector, and continue to do that. And which is fine, but you need 2 people. This is a 2-person short-term job kind of thing.
It's almost
you can do it in 1 person, but
it's almost like being in a mall, but you're in the actual starter ship. You know what I mean? Like you need to change the seats in the mall. It's the same thing, but it's from the get-go. And you've got to envision whatever the medium one is between this and the Reclaimer. It probably has the lasers, but doesn't have the processing facilities of the Reclaimer. So you'll probably be able to cut up with a laser on that, but then you might have to get out and unload the, you'll have that second person in the back that Paul's talking about to do the loading and unloading for you. So yeah, again, if you wanted a small one, I know it's not out yet, and I'm just theorizing there. I think that's a better place. That just as starter professions go, this one's just a little weird. But if you're really into salvage and you like seeing it come along, because we are about to have munching come in the next little while, aren't we? It's scheduled for the end of the year, isn't it?
The end of this year.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah,
so yeah, next patch. But I've tried it, and if you have a Reclaimer, you also get one of these as a. They gave one as a loaner initially. I don't think you get one anymore, but initially when it first came out, that you got one of these as a loaner. So I don't know. I'm the Reclaimer camp, but maybe I'm a bit of an elitist.
I think the Reclaimer is a better option just because it's you're going to get more better and faster than the Vulture. I just think it's also going to be cost you more. The biggest problem again, it just comes down to this lie of that single person salvage platform. It's not single person.
Yeah.
So
you are going from 1 person to 5 people, but it is,
that's true.
It's essentially $250 more than this. So it's $400 versus $175. But yeah. Right. I think we've done full circle, Paul. The one thing I didn't do, Paul, is I didn't look for skins. And I don't think there is any new ones.
There's any skins.
Yeah, we normally do this ahead of time, but halfway through the show I was like, I forgot to do a bunch of things. Because we're helping people before the show, but we'll have a quick look.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there's no new ones, because there hasn't been a lot of new ones like yesterday either. So
no.
Yep.
No, and usually they put the skins on the.
This is what I'll do
on the front page.
I'm going to assume there's none, and if we're wrong, let us know in the comments below. We'll call it there.
Tell us, yes.
Yeah, tell us if there's any new skins.
That sounds a good idea.
Did you get a Kraken? Do you think our thoughts on these ships are harebrained? Why is Drake the best, and why does Origin suck? I'd love to know in the comments below.
Please explain when I said $600 about how stupid I am in chat. Please, I commented on multiple times because I know you want to.
Yeah,
I know you want to. You want to feel superior, so please do. Don't fall for my, or you can not fall for my my attempts at engagement, so that the YouTube algorithm promotes this a little bit more. But it's up to you.
And I'll be honest with you.
Do you dare?
I think Drake's just as polarizing as Origin. Like if you like Origin, you tend to hate Drake, and if you love Drake, then you tend to hate Origin.
It's an aesthetics thing.
Yeah, I like all manufacturers, to be honest. I just want Origin to do more, and then I want to be able to go, "Ooh, I bought an Origin ship," but there's just not.
He wants to like Origin. I like Drake because
if they made this, I would buy Origin.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like Drake because of its aesthetics, its lore, and its usefulness. It's a great example of synergy of writing, of design and of purpose, and it fits exactly the where most people want it to be, and it's great because of that. That's my opinion. But yeah, let us know. Do you like Drake? Do you hate Drake? Where do you fall on it? Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video if you enjoy this. If you do think we earned your like, hit that bell icon to come back more, and we will be back every day for this IAE to talk to you about all of the various manufacturers on day to day. I've been the Astropub. He's been Execute, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you to the people that went the extra mile on the end of the credits.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.